Okay.
Hey, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to Keeping It Spiritually Simple. I am Sandra McGellish, your host, and today I have an amazing guest, Reverend Sarah Nash. She is quite the amazing person to chat with pre-video here, and so she is also the founder of the White Light Express. So welcome, Reverend Sarah Nash.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, we had a great pre-show chit chat, and then I was just like, we should probably start recording.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you for having me. I've really been looking forward to
Oh.
this. I know there's so many things have happened over the last couple of months. You had to cancel, I had to cancel, and then other things happened, and then my poor Daisy Mae, she passed away last week.
Yes.
And that just kind of set us into a bit of a tailspin, but now we're a little bit back on track, and we were talking about the White Light Express. So if that's okay with you, I'm going to continue my, jibber jabbing.
Yes, please do.
But it really is about the power of positive focused intention. And as I was telling, as I,
Sandra.
like,
The
Sandra,
girl on the other side of the
Sandra,
street.
it's Sandra. Okay, I have so many Sandras, and Sandra, I know you're
Yes,
watching,
it's
so okay.
okay.
Sandra is like, oh no.
Yeah.
Anyways, but it is about the power of positive focused intention. It began in 2001 when two friends, myself and Avis Latone, we always greeted, and or actually we said goodbye to one another by saying, I'll pray for you if you pray for me. And other people heard that and they wanted to get in on that action. So we began doing a lot of prayers, and yeah, it is. And one of the things that we were talking about, Sandra, was that people tend to look at prayer as an excuse to get out of action. They're saying, oh, prayer, oh, are you going to pray for me? Yeah, I actually am. And I've had these discussions with people who talk about prayer with such a, it's almost derogatory and demeaning, because prayer is not, it was Mahatma Gandhi who said, prayer is not an idle woman, an old woman's idle hobby. It is really about engaging with the divine and with asking that spirit to be within you. And really that the unified field theory says all things are connected. Excuse me. So not all of us can go save the whales. Not all of us can jump into our cars and, be at Standing Rock. Not all of us can, send money to Palestine or to any war for that matter. I mean, we can't be all things at all times. And I have a little moth flying through here.
Mm-hmm. Bet you do.
But the bottom
Visitor.
line is that what we can do is pray. And I mean, really pray. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just, oh, I mean, sit down for I spend about 45 minutes a day. And then there's, little bits and pieces throughout the day. But if we can just at least just start with 2 minutes. I tell people start with 2 minutes. If you can sit for 2 minutes, and if you can't sit for 2 minutes, sit for a minute. And just, it exponentially grows. And we have the White Light Express. So just go to whitelightexpress.org and send in your prayer request. And we don't require any payment to pray. You shouldn't pay to pray. That's the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
of course we accept donations, but this is my ministry. And I was really broke not too long ago. I was thinking, can I still afford to do this? Yes. And I decided it didn't matter that I pay all the hosting fees and, the candles and all the maintenance and everything. Because I don't know about you, hosting a website has gotten so expensive.
I just paid $500 and I'm like, what the heck?
How the heck did that happen, man? So I was thinking maybe I would move it over to Google Sites. And then I thought, I was laughing. I started laughing to myself, and I was like, you know what? Even if nobody was involved, and I didn't ever talk about it, I would still do it. So I was like, yep, this is going to continue.
Well, it's in your lifeline to wish the best for someone else. When we offer prayer, it's not just about I hope you get what you want, I hope you feel better and hope all this. It's like because you're not feeling well may be something you have to go through in order to take stock of your life, right? So we
Right?
can't we can't pray that away for you. We want you to have the highest ability to obtain and hold health
Yes.
in whatever lessons that is for you. So whatever troubles someone's having, we're not praying those away. We're praying with you for the highest good of you and for the community around you. Because again, one person may have to experience something really horrific that someone can't pray away because then it'll change the whole community. Because now someone's gone out and started something from this inner dialogue of pain. So that I look at prayer in the same similar way I think that you probably do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Hmm.
It is about communicating with God, though. It is about communicating with something that is greater than yourself,
Hmm.
greater than, just this. It's really the belief in something outside of us that is greater than us and also loves us and has our best interests at heart.
Hmm.
And that's, I tell people it was Rob Brezhnev. I love his astrology, by the way. I'm not an astrologer. I don't play one on TV. Um, although I would if you wanted me to. But Rob Brezhnev started this thing called pronoia, where the universe is working with you again, as opposed to against you. So there's pronoia versus paranoia.
I like
So
it.
he said, start thinking that the universe is working with you because it is true. The universe will provide us with what we consistently, reaffirm in our lives. I've got a friend who is always in excruciating pain. This person is just constantly talking about the pain they're in over and over and over. And I'm just like, stop reaffirming that you are in so much pain. And they're like, how can I not? Like, okay, let's work on that. So yeah, how do you work on, changing? My birds are going nuts. There's lots of spirits around us. I don't know if you can hear
Hmm.
them.
I can. That's why I said when you said the moth, I'm like, oh, sure it is. It's a
Yeah,
little being coming in to visit.
I have a lot of winged creatures around me
Hmm.
a lot of the time, in
Nice.
spirit. My little dragons have wings, and some are bumblebees, and some are bats. And oh, we should talk about my cosmic triage oracle deck, which is coming out in August.
Awesome.
I'm so excited about that. But it has the reason I brought that up is because it has a whole section of winged things, So, but essentially we were talking about prayer
Hmm.
and how it is that we can stop reaffirming the negative things in our lives. And it's, it's okay to say I'm in so much pain. I mean, you have to be able to speak it and hear it. And then say to yourself, how can I navigate the world while being in pain? And I'll tell you, when I was at Kimberly Palm's Spiritual Journeys Women's Retreat a couple of weeks ago, Rosemary Levesque turned me on to a product called Avini. And I have to tell you, it has changed my life. Like, I actually dove in. Do you know anything about it?
No.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that later. But
Okay.
telling you people, oh my God, my knee pain was off the charts, and she was watching me go up and down the stairs to this house, and I was on the fourth floor. This house, well, actually the third floor. But going up and down the stairs, I by the end of Saturday, because we got there on Thursday, it was Saturday, Rosemary she kind of took me aside and she's like, listen, we need to talk. And so this is how, it's like, and I wasn't going to complain about the pain that I was in, but I was rubbing ointments and stuff on it. But I found it's zeolite. Are you familiar with zeolite?
Yes, I am.
Oh my Lord. Like I had stopped taking it years ago And then there's a product. Oh, phooey, and I should have been more prepared, but it doesn't matter. I don't want to sell a beanie. What I'm doing is I'm saying, there's a time and a place to talk about your pain. And
Yes.
then there's a time and a place to just set it down. And I've always had knee problems because, well, probably because I hit my knees praying all the time, but no, I used to play volleyball and horseback riding.
Mhm.
And they didn't call me Ace for nothing, but I would hit my knees often. And as a result of all of these experiences, I've grown up with knee pain. So I was taking a walk with an elder in Alaska and outside of Talkeetna, Alaska. And he picked up a rock as I was walking with him and we were talking. And he said, "Why are you limping?" And I said, "Well, I have knee pain." And he said, "You need to give it to this rock. Give your pain to this rock." So I did. I spoke my pain into the rock, and then I handed it to him and he threw the rock away. And he said, "This is how we get rid of our pain. We acknowledge it, we speak it into, it, of course, there's a longer and larger story behind this, but the idea is to speak your pain and then give it away and not reaffirm it. And if
Right.
you do have a process, something that you can do to help navigate that. And for some of us, that's looking better. We, in our pre-chat interview, we were talking about makeup and ceremonial makeup and ceremonial items of jewelry that we wear to help us get through through our lives.
Well, they all stand for something. They all stand for something, not just an adornment. They mean something to us. So it works not only on our physical, but it works on the deep DNA because, the stones that you have on right now may resonate from stones you had, centuries or a millennium ago. And they're just coming back to you because they're old friends and they're working with you to
Oh,
help
I love
balance your
that.
fulcrum, right?
Right.
When we were talking about the ceremonial thing, I have sight, so I see things with my eyes wide open. So I call it the sky show, or I can do it on the wall, and a particular being will come forth, and then it branches out into other things. I don't always necessarily understand exactly what it is I am seeing, but they have asked me, can you just see without asking a lot of questions? So yesterday, the scene kind of changed into what I want to say looks like a cartoonish watercolor. And I could see beings, and they looked very tribal, and they were doing ceremonial dances. They were all uniformly moving in a synchronized way. And the sense that I got from seeing was, and the feeling that collaborated that was, it was a ceremonial tribal dance. Not so much of the ones that we may see on National Geographics or
Sure.
all those things, but it was from beyond the veil. So something was happening with a lot of the energies that were going on. Um, and we were talking about that when we were bringing in the pain. And I also want to bring up something about the pain. Pain are lessons. Like, talk to the pain as if you're talking to a friend.
Right.
Hey, what's up today? What's going on? Listen, I'm going to need to do A, B, and C today. And I need to kind of do with a little more glide and grace. What can I do to assist you to help me look a little bit better than gimpy, limpy hop along, Because
Right. Especially those
ouch.
of us who have autoimmune diseases like myself.
Yes, yes, me too.
And,
And
and I'm
it draws attention. And now everyone else is talking about, oh, you're limping, you're doing this, you're in pain. I'm like, I don't want everybody else talking about my pain. So
right.
how can I work on my pain so that it can be alleviated enough for me to work with it? And I always talk too about people that go out in the woods and they leave their shiat all out there. And then these poor trees and the breeze are trying to, assimilate and cancel alt delete and send it back to in a big purple cloud
Cancel
or
all
something.
delete.
But
I love
they're
that.
trying to help you out. But the thing is, some of them get oversaturated. So it's like, can't you go out and work with the trees and nature to work with you on alleviating the pain? Like throwing the rock, I would have buried the rock and said, thank you. That would have just been me. But throwing the rock, I feel like someone else is going to pick up your knee pain from over on the other side of the woods. So that's just
Yeah,
my
I don't
thinking.
think that's what this
Yeah,
elder intended.
I'm sure.
And I'm sure that there's a lot of reasons and ways that we can do
Yes.
those kinds of things. So I tell everyone, it's George Carlin said it best. Okay, there are 8 billion people, maybe 9 billion, but the thing is that there should be 8 billion religions. So, the religion of how Sandra manages, how she is going to do it.
Mhm.
She and never let somebody come to you and say you're doing it wrong. Unless, of course, it's brain surgery, in which case,
Let's
like,
talk about that.
but yeah, that's one of the other things that is really, really appropriate is don't allow people to come along and tell you you're doing something wrong. When I was at Burning Man, I was next to a camp. I was at Sacred Spaces Village, right on the boardwalk. But we had this of course we were right next to the most X-rated camp out there. I think it was called Spanky's. I don't know, but anyways, every once in a while, some guy would come along on his megaphone, and he would just shout to everyone, "You're doing it wrong!" And everybody would just laugh because I mean, it's like there's a sense also of when somebody is controlling the narrative like that in your life, whether it's religion or something else. It's like again, it's that element of how much are you willing to surrender, how
Mhm.
much of your autonomy, how much of your independence.
Yes.
So I think that's so important for us to remember. However it's best for you.
In the now moment. Absolutely. Absolutely. And
Shouldn't be
also
10
it,
commandments, there should be 10 suggestions, right?
absolutely.
The
Yeah, I
church of
always say
applied
I
spaghetti
don't give I don't
monster.
give advice. I never give advice. I've said this since I was a kid. I don't give advice, but I could make a suggestion on maybe how I could do it, and then I would 3D it in my brain and then say something that might be helpful and let them choose. Because a lot of people don't want to change; they just want to complain. But we're in this huge alignment right now with so much
Right.
energetic activity. And so our body is saying, get in alignment, get in alignment. We're going to bring up every trigger. We're going to bring up every ache and pain. We're going to do everything we can to poke and prod you, to bring all this up to the surface, skim it off, bring up some more, skim it off. Hell, get buckets in there and start doing all that. Get some help with it. Get the community involved in helping you, because the more you help you, the more you're helping your community, the more you're helping your DNA lineage, the more you're helping others that you love. And you've got to love yourself and put yourself almost first in order to kind of lead this
Put the oxygen
new
on
way of
yourself
thinking.
first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we were talking earlier about this interesting alignment that's going on right now. So would you like to elaborate a little bit on that?
No, I don't know very much about it at all. I just saw it come through my news feed, and I know that it happens, and here's the thing. It happens all the time, every year. No, okay, not all the time, every year. It happens at least annually. This is not like this huge alignment that's never going to happen, or
Mhm.
again in the next 6,000 years or what have you. But we do need to pay attention to alignments, only in the sense that it's and I apologize. One of the reasons I haven't been paying attention to it is I've had like this major tsunami of really talk about a series of unfortunate events, darling. My fur baby passed away right as soon as I got back from the Spiritual Growth Journeys retreat. We had to let her go. And then I have a family member with a huge health issue that just kind of popped up out of nowhere. And it was really disturbing. And then, there's just like a litany of things, wham, wham, wham. But seriously, though, my birds agree. But, when my Daisy May passed, it really did send me into a tailspin. And you know what? After even, I was like, I cannot cancel on these people anymore. But I have not been watching the news as closely as I normally would, even the psychic news. I know we have so many solar flares and sunspots that have been happening. And those auroras that we had a couple of weeks ago were stunning here. and the Pacific Northwest. But one of the things that I do know that we are working towards, though, are gateways, monthly gateways. I'm going to be talking to George Norrie this weekend on Beyond Belief about that. And I'm so into portals and gateways as being more of the signs that I feel, well, I tend to watch, and I tell my friends and family to watch. So every month, it started out with the Lions Gate. Everybody talked about the Lions Gate, 8/8 on August 8th. So every month has a gateway though. On January, it's January 1st. On February, it's February 2nd.
Mhm.
On, and so forth and so on. So, on June 6th, we're going to have the 6/6 gateway. And I feel that we have had so many things happening that we need to, especially recently with the weather. Oh my God, the weather. And we are in the middle of it. We're supposed to be in the middle of a mini ice age though. But going back to the alignment and I'm more interested in what's going to happen when these portals open and these gateways allow us to have higher and better a connection to source. I've noticed that as we have these sunspots and these solar flares and these experiences, more and more people seem to be getting in alignment themselves, like alignment with what their personal belief system is, and in alignment with allowing others to have theirs as well. So instead of having this great divide, I'm finding that we're having more of a, oh, I see you and I see you. It's like if we could really promote that energy so that we are in alignment. It's that coexist, the sticker that I love so much. That's, it's like if we can have all of these paths, all paths lead to God. And so that's
Absolutely.
what that alignment means to me. All these paths lead to God.
Mhm.
But physically, mentally, and emotionally, I think the new normal is being interrupted, don't you?
I think there is a stop, drop, sit, and become more aware. So you got to kind of let go of the old programming and allow there to be a new broadcast coming across the screen. Not a warning,
There,
warning,
that right
run,
there.
just a
Yeah.
new broadcast,
Yeah.
interruption
From
of what's
here and
happening.
here.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree. We're just using different words, but means the same thing.
Yeah. And see, that's just it too. Communication is so essential. And instead of becoming, I find that people are becoming less apt to be trigger happy or have that knee jerk reaction. Whereas they're more and more of the enlightened people that I'm seeing
Mm-hmm.
tend to sit forward and go, well, what does that mean? What do you mean by that? Rather than
Mm-hmm.
going into a place of presumption
Yes.
or just defense. And so I loved how you talked about the stop, drop, and sit, or stop, drop, and sit. Is that what you said? Because
Yeah.
cosmic triage is one of my healing modalities. And hold on just a second. I have to close
Sure.
my office door here. There we go. And it's center, ground, protect. So however, you want to do it, some people protect and then ground and then center. The bottom line though is that stop, drop, and roll in the midst of having these experiences. I loved how you talk about how you have the sight. I have that as well, and it's interesting because you talk about it like it was on a screen. I call that my interstellar Skype channel.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
And every once in a while, it's like my friends and I will call each other up on the sky on what we call the sky phone. But I would love, can you talk a little bit more about, since you saw that tribal stuff in your vision, was it last night?
So it was yesterday. So whenever I have an opportunity, I do try to go outside and just sit and just focus in on the sky. Now, they will usually give me a sign of where to look on the screen, and it's generally a flash. I'll get a flash, like a spark.
Okay.
And then I usually get what I call salt and pepper, which is all these
Yeah, they remind me of like little amoebas
Yeah,
and
like
wiggly
fireworks, or like
things.
they're just going
Yeah,
every which direction.
yeah.
And then a being always appears that looks the same, but it usually comes in the form of an eye first, like one eye, like a portal. And then it will show me the second eye and the nose. And then beings are coming in and out of the eye portal. But then there's one guide that is moving the animals, people, places, and things, always in movement, always in movement. And then I'll see people dancing. For the longest time, a lot of different people would come, and I would have to call in the portal of transcendence and let them pass over because they were really bombarding me back in 2018, 19.
Yeah.
And then once I passed them all over, now I just have what I can see is like a life beyond the veil. And it's just showing me activities that are happening. And that came on a number of years ago. And then I don't like to call them downloads or anything else. I will just hear in my own voice a little bit about what's happening. It'll just be like a boom, a clear knowingness of what's going on. And when I don't, I used to get very frustrated and ask a lot of questions to the point where I was missing the scenes because I was too busy trying to control it from my human vessel with what limited thinking I have. So now, when I get what I want to call symbols or signs, they come in the air and they'll appear to me. They look like a
Like a
musical note.
glyph.
Yes, they'll look like a glyph, like a musical note, like
Are
a
they
shape.
3D? Do they
They
turn?
will. They will turn all the
Yeah,
way
I
around.
mine kind of turn. They almost look like
Yes.
ornaments.
Yes.
And then sometimes
Yes.
I'm just like, oh, wow,
Yes.
sister.
Yes, and
Yes.
beautiful, beautiful, illuminating colors that I don't really see in patterns here on Earth. But the last time
Yeah.
that one came forth repeatedly was about a month ago, and I started to ask a question, and basically I'm hearing, "Can you just be okay with just seeing us? Can you just be okay with just starting with just seeing us and not asking a lot of questions?" So it's fun. I mean, I can sit there and play with a pretend world that isn't pretend. It's all real to me.
Oh, yeah.
I have conversations with you right now and they'll just be all over the place, but I'm so used to them that I don't occasionally I will stop and just stare and lose whatever I'm doing because I'm just mesmerized by the beauty.
And so in your and I'm just curious too. Here, let me interview you for a moment,
That's
darling.
okay. That's what this is all about. It's kind of a
So,
collaboration
do
here.
you think that it's going to be part of our job as we move into this 5D world and into this ascension process? Because we talked a little bit about that too, pre-chat. But with regard to what it is that our roles might be to assist others, because we were talking about how I felt with regard to tribal things, that as we move forward into this new brave world or whatever you want to call it, I felt that we were going to become more tribal, that we were going to become more as separate communities, working in alignment, there's that word again, with each other, but more isolated and less like big cities, but more tribal, smaller communities. And I
Yeah.
and I don't want to invoke, Lord of the Flies images when I say tribal, but
So I hear you there, and I do know
sustainable
that,
communities.
yes, I do know a lot of people are feeling that way in order to be in this so-called new world of elevation, ascension, or whatever. We're going to be in these separate communities away from mainstream life kind of thing. But the way spirit has shown me is I'm going to walk among all of it, doing what I do
Right.
and probably not attached to any particular community or tribe. Um, because I think many of us who have come in, and I'm hearing you as well, are extremely adaptable, very mutable, and very malleable. So we're going to be like, hey, I've come into this community and I'm learning and teaching this, and I'm learning and being shown this. I'm sharing that. And now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But I'm still going to be able to see the density of whatever people are not evolved yet.
right?
No kind of
See,
thing.
that's kind of what I've picked up on too. But when I say tribal, and maybe I should have, okay. So I just see the world in general. And I'm not hip to all the lingo with the 4D, the 5D, and I'm sorry because I just see it as people ascending and needing
Yes.
teachers, and that's basically essentially what the Melchizedeks are. Those are the teachers that have come through. They've been called by God to help those, and to stand in integrity and morality as well. And I think that's where a lot of in the ancient times, the Lemurian times, and what have you, the downfall has always been that the Melchizedeks, stepped aside from what their true integrity was
Mhm.
and should be. But I too have seen those like yourself or myself traveling from community to community to help. But how many of your clients or how many people are you familiar with that see things the way you and I see them? You're clair-knowing. I loved that. Your inner standing with that. That I adore that. I'm gonna snag that. I'm gonna say I got this from
Please do.
Sandra.
Please
It's
do.
clair-knowing, but
Yeah, it's just it is. I would probably say a lot of clients reach out with a lot of self-doubt. Like oh, I have to learn from you. You're a master. And I go, but I learned going up the ladder too. I
yeah,
learned from all the self mistakes and knocks on the head. And that's how I came in to learn. It's a kinesthetic, visceral way to learn, not so fun. So I think through all of that, I've been able to work with clients to open them up to, you've got it too. You just might do it a little bit different than I do.
right,
Your visions may be this way. You may have a vocal side to you. You may be in the feelings. See, I'm deep. Feelings are my number one. Visual kinesthetic is number two. So when we come in really empathic and we feel a lot, we're taught to shut a lot of that down. So
yeah,
really with the clients, they're learning. And then through our sessions, they're like, oh, I saw that. I felt that. And then they're like, start to play in between sessions until it's like, go ahead, take your rowboat down the stream, girlfriend or boyfriend. You're getting this. You don't need to be over here. You're learning how to tap into your own inner wheelhouse of so many things. Now, another thing you were touching on with the tribal thing, I have been shown in ways of feeling that, yes, we're going to bring in all of the ancient ways that have been not available to us in the truest form. We're going to have all of that, but then we're going to create and launch out something completely new
right.
from that.
Yes, I'm
From
glad you
that.
said
That's what
that.
I get. Because
Yeah,
a lot of us now, we go back into archaeology and all these different things. It's like, oh, so now we know that Google and all these other informational highways are not correct, that this is correct. And this is how this all happened, right? And that's all fine and dandy. But I think we are in this place where we're going to learn, but then we're going to spin it in a different direction, and it's going to go into a whole other realm. And then millenniums from there, they may look back at what we're doing
right.
as ancient times, right? So we're all here to create and recreate, and every single freaking one of us has the ability. It's just that we're stuck in this 3D world of I got to work, I got to do this, I got to. So all of our priorities are mental survival, and we've taken our feeling survival, and it's been told that that's not supposed to exist. But with what I see is like the wheels of change are just flipping it. So now this becomes priority, this becomes secondary, but you will work together with it while you are in these physical bodies evolving, because you have to have both.
And I
And that
really
means
want to
get
go
freaking
back to,
physical. Go ahead.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. We have a glitch there. It's all right.
I was saying it really is about making sure that no one else is controlling your personal narrative. And I loved how you said earlier that you don't really, you don't enjoy giving advice, so it's not advice, it's suggestions, and helping others to become more discerning.
Yes.
And that's really more importantly, that really is our job, to help people become discerning, to learn how to trust themselves, and and to feel less confined with asking questions. Because I've noticed that a lot of teachers, and correct me if I'm wrong, but please.
Okay.
But a lot of teachers that I've really watched out there, and this is why I really wanted to come and do a show with you, because you're not
Hmm.
one of these people, but they really insist that their way, it's either their way or the highway. They don't allow for that grace of movement and growth, and their own, ability to come up with something that is good for them. Again,
Mhm.
8 billion people should be 8 billion religions.
Mhm. I totally agree. It's like, I'm sure with you, any course or anything that I've taken over my lifetime, I sit in it and I allow the information to come through and I learn it, but then I tweak it within a way that works with my body rhythm, with my energetic rhythm. So it may have a different flair to it, not necessarily better or worse, but it works for me. And then I always find that somewhere along the line, I'll be an oddball for the longest time. Somewhere, somebody will come along and go, but that way makes so much sense. I feel like I can relate to that way. So, again, through the school of hard knocks and visceral repellence, so to speak, the punches
Love
in the
that.
stomachs, you know, it's like I've had to learn my own way. And then in learning that own way and blossoming in my own way, it's helped other people blossom in their way.
I love that
Because,
you teach people how to trust themselves, and
yes.
that inner, that Holy Spirit within us. Now, see, my issue was conditioning. I was raised in the Mormon church. I'm a Latter-day Saint, and I still am. I mean, I'm like a recovering Mormon, a recovering Catholic, a recovering, it's like nobody ever says a recovering Buddhist.
Yeah. Well, that's a
but,
philosophy.
it's that conditioning. And so how is it that we can, that and this is just a rhetorical question, but what I want to assist people with is that if they want to return to the love in the arms of their religion, if you will, that should be allowed. This world is a scary place. So allowing for the grace of people to step back into something without feeling as though, you know, they're going to be ostracized or not loved. And that part of it is what it's, that teeter-totter. Because if you go back to the conditioning of the church or the confines of your religion, then there's all of this repenting that you have to do. I have noticed that when people kind of step out of their religion and they want to go in this direction, there's all this repenting they have to do. So if nothing else, Sandra, what I would love to do is to help people get over their sense of conditioning that they've done something wrong. That's just it, because you can't unrape, you can't unmurder, you can't undo any of the things that, it's like the karmic things. It's like allowing people to have grace
Mhm.
is just, I think, the most important element of the work that we do. And just giving them that sense of, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. My dad used to say everything works out in the end. If it's not working out, it's not the end. So
Oh, I love that. Well, as far as going back to things, I think some people look at that as a retreat. You're going back into your pod, you're going back into your cocoon, you're going back into a place of comfort zone.
right.
Hey, whatever works for you. If you've got to go back and forth a billion million times to finally go, okay, I don't really need that pod. I don't really need that cocoon. I
Mhm.
am a okay with what I'm learning about me. and I can make my imprint now as I walk forward, and I can do it solo because I don't need a crowd of people around me, you know, egging me on and patting my back and giving me adorations. I don't need any of that.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
everyone's got to learn at their own pace because we didn't grow up in everybody's homes. We don't know what the parent was like, siblings were like. We don't know what your learning issues were or weren't. We have no right to judge that. It's just a matter of sitting in front of people like you and I do and empowering them. Well, hey, tap in and trust. Tap
Well,
in
I
and
think
trust what works
shame
for
is one of
you.
the biggest motivators that we can help diminish. If we're gonna, it's my prayer is that if we can diminish or mitigate or remove an element of shame, because let's face it, if you can control what somebody does in the bedroom or what they eat, you've pretty much controlled their lives. And this is essentially what religions and, like certain kinds of, well, mostly religion, they tell you you can't eat shellfish, or you can't have caffeine, or you can't smoke, or you can't drink, or you shouldn't, or this, that, and the other. It's like
Mhm.
that, and those are all really good things. You shouldn't smoke, you shouldn't drink. I mean, it's like, I'm not saying but I'm just, there's this element of shame if you step in this direction or that direction. And that's really, let's take this time of alignment where all of these planets are aligned, and let's see if we can use that to help, mitigate the shame that is out there, that we can all be in alignment with our highest and best good.
Mm.
How about that? Like, I'll probably
Ditto.
read something about it later, but the thing is, though, it's like, how can we be in alignment?
Ditto, ditto, ditto. I echo that big time. I truly do. I think we are at the point now where people are looking at programming isn't working. The programs that we have been taught to believe one way or the other and never to doubt, never to
Right?
question, right? And how many of our lineages go on now to become adults and just repeat the exact same things? And then you have all
Conditioning.
this redundancy and absolutely no real evolving of yourself. The world continues to evolve, but it still does repeats the same thing every so many decades. We go back and it's like the fashion from here is now back up here. The invention from back there then is now the gold now. I mean, it's insane.
Get thee behind me, mini skirts.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. It's just we've been taught that there is so much judgment and it's placed upon us that we don't even sometimes a lot of people don't even know they're doing it. They just do it
Right?
because it's such a repetitive habit.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you were talking about growing up a Mormon. I grew up Catholic and then my mother converted to Seventh-day Adventist when I was 12. So I
Oh,
was
wow.
pulled out of public school. My skirts were lowered below my knee. I wasn't allowed to eat meat. We were teased because we were the Gentile heathens, from public school. And, for somebody who grew up very in a religious environment, I always knew none of it made sense. And I questioned from the time I was a youngin'. And I remember when my mom would sit down with a lot of us kids and read the Bible, and we'd have to repeat after that. And I would say, but how did he say that like that? I thought they lived in such and such and had a different language. I don't understand. I mean, I would annoy my mother, but I would hear Yeshua say, I didn't say that. I didn't write that. That isn't me. That isn't my name. I
And
would hear
and
that.
God forbid that you should say that to your priest or your bishop,
Right.
because then they think, of course, well, either you're crazy,
Mhm,
hearing the voice of God, or an ascended master,
mhm,
if you will.
mhm.
Or, I learned how to keep my mouth shut. And
Yes.
that in and of itself is a form of, well, being censored. If there's one thing that I truly despise, is being censored, simply because, it's there's a time and a place for everything, right? And I get that. But the censoring of one's soul journey, yeah, that right there.
Well, we've had that. so many lifetimes. If you've done any past life regression, you know it comes up over and over and over
Over and
again.
over and
And
over.
if you do it and then you learn your lessons through it, you know that this is the lifetime that we're not under persecution in the way that you think we are. And if you just simply express yourself and just let whatever people need to say, as long, you're not going to get stoned to death in the street, the way it
Well,
was in the old days.
presumably, it depends
Well,
on where you
words.
live.
Well, I mean, that's true. That's very true. Let me
There's this
rephrase that.
element
Let me
of,
rephrase that. It
yeah,
does that is true. However, we can have more development within self and learn that the vibrations of our vocal cords and the energies within our bodies as we make noise, if we need to, but sometimes just that knowing doesn't need to come out of your spout hole. It just doesn't. It
that's
doesn't
right.
need to power wash the people around you.
Power
Just
wash.
you
I
can
love
just
that. It's
know
like
it.
verbal vomit,
Yeah,
baby.
exactly. You can just know it. I'm such a realist. I have to use all the tools that I know, and they'll show me things, and it just comes out that way. Because I take it into reality. But I don't need to do that because I didn't come here to convert anyone. And I don't want to be solicited and converted. I
Yeah.
just want to learn. Can I just learn and just be and still do no harm? Can I just do that? We need to allow ourselves to have more freedom and take it to the next generation.
And more grace.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
all of it is graceful. Yeah.
So let's
Yes,
hope.
girl. Yes, girl.
I have loved being on your show. I really have. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're
Let's do
so
this
welcome.
again.
Did you want to do your card?
I'm actually getting pinged from outer space. So I'm going to have to, but I'd love to come back and do another session.
I would love that
Or not
too.
another session. I'd love to be able to pull a few oracles.
Okay, well, we can definitely do that next time. Well, say goodbye, and then we'll talk real quick after camera, if that's okay.
Adios.
All right, bye,
Au
everybody.
revoir.